Okay, today's video is finding inspiration in artwork, other people's artwork, not just tattoo artwork, anything really. I'm going to go through a bunch of photos, talk about them a bit. I've been going through a bit of a time at the moment where I'm just feel like I'm repeating the same tricks over and over. A lot of the designs are kind of like, I don't know, just not lacking. Like everything I'm doing I'm happy with, but I got to keep moving forward, and to do that you got to look at things, and I'll get some photos up to start anyway. You have to look at stuff and look at it and go, all right, well, why do I like it, and kind of dissect it and look into it. Like, we'll talk about this photo for instance. So I've got the Inri Eki Homo, got the cherubs on the left with the black shading around it, cherubs on the right, little angels up the top. Like, it's a pretty like rough looking tattoo the way it's tattooed, but a lot of the inspiration I get for composition is, to me, what matters. Like this space here with the negative space here between the Jesus and these designs, and like obviously I've been more into like filling up all the space, but sometimes like I find it's more about like what isn't there. I need to just get back to the top. Like with this photo, you know, like the spider sitting on top of this negative web, and then having the black underneath it with the Jesus. Like a lot of these photos I'm going to be showing are like, not all of it is like the best tattooing. It's more about the concepts and like the layout, and like just doing shit that you wouldn't do as a tattooist. Like nowadays, a lot of tattooing now is super rigid. No one really takes too many risks. Like they don't want to, like, you know, they don't want to try something new or experiment too much, because that's not many people getting tattooed want to give you that kind of freedom. But I look at this design with the negative spider web and the black shading underneath it, and I think about like you could do that, but as like a whole front and behind stuff, and have like the black shading almost halfway down his stomach, and then put other things in it. That's what I do when I see that. Same with this, you know, like just the woman's face is almost like completely empty with no shading, and then like all the solid black. You know, sometimes it's like maximalism, I guess that's what you'd call it, like putting as much in as you can with all these roses as the border, and then having such a simple thing in the center of that. Just, it works, you know. I put Rusty in here just because she's just got, I don't know, just her whole swag with how every tattoo, like on her legs and her stomach and her front, is pretty spaced, but then the arms are super filled in, like really black. Makes it, I don't know, I like it. I put this guy in here just because it's another example of like, these photos to me are more useful to look at than to look at like just someone who's tattooing in 2024 and their new tattoo they did today. Even if it was a whole sleeve or whatever, it's not the full composition of the whole body. You know, these guys, he's got both his arms, his front, you know, he's got the stars around his nipples, whatever he's got along his collar here. Just, they thought a lot further forward than what we do. Like the time frame that people work in when they're making tattoos now are like, oh, I just need to get a photo of this really good like palm size tattoo or hand size or whatever, and post that up to show that I'm doing something, rather than like committing with your client to doing like an overall look, taking 2 or 3 years to get to a photo like this. You know, I look at that and it's like, oh, how about we come in and look at this, let's get you to here. It doesn't work like that anymore. This is hill photo. I want to talk about this one for a bit. This is like same with that mindset of you know, like commitment to an idea. Like, I'm not too sure who these guys got tattooed by, no disrespect to whoever did it. These are just, once again, screenshots off my phone. Just the, you know, like the cohesiveness of all these guys having, you know, the same but different. It's not exactly the same, but it fits together. Everyone's got their own thing. I'm sure they're all got their own story or whatnot. I'm not the most educated on Japanese tattooing, but like I look at this photo and that inspires me to be like, well, if I keep just doing what I'm doing, taking time with customers, educating them further forward to be like, hey, well, this is what we can get later, rather than just like, Instagram's really taught like my generation that like a cool hand-sized tattoo is like all you gotta get. And if you got enough of them, like, you've made it. But really, if you take the time to like educate and talk to it with you about things with your customers, you can get like something like this happening. And I think this is Marino, I think. That's like another photo of some Japanese work. Here's a good photo. Once again, I'm not too sure who this is, but just got the geisha, another pin up here, and then like these little arrows coming off her butterfly on her chest that go down into her sleeves. Like, I think that's really cool. It's you know, I don't even know where they would have got that idea from, but I would really love to do like a design like that and then do some of these arrows. This one's cool. You don't really see much like Australia related kind of tattoo designs, or you know, there's like kangaroos and stuff, yeah, but not like this. I saw this and I was like, man, this is cool. Like, do you get this as it being an Australian, or, you know, it reminds you of home? I don't know where we have mountains like that, but it's pretty cool. This is a good photo for like the chain around his neck. It's probably the reason why I put it in here. You know, I'd love to do that. That makes me like want to do something like that. It's similar to these flowers like around here, and having it lower cut from, like, people always try and get their tats to kind of end up here, but I think if you have it a bit lower, it makes you look more tattooed if you crushed from everywhere down from there. Well, Tuttle, Chopper's art, you know, like, I should have put some more photos of his art in here, but, you know, if I'm struggling for inspo, I start looking at stuff that's just not even really like what I'm doing. Like, probably the furthest from another Aussie Australian design that's just, yeah, you don't get to see him very often. Yep, this is Reese Lee. So I tattooed Reese Lee in 2018 or something like that. He's a fine artist from Australia, and I look at his art when I've got some photos not very good, but like they're too small. But I look at his art, like just the way that he uses like colors and texture and like the imagery that he makes, how it's just like so kind of loose, and, you know, some of the ideas are like super simple, and the shapes are, you know, I don't even know how to explain it. I look at his stuff and I'm like, man, I want to like loosen up and make like drawings and designs and artwork that's more just fluent and not so like it has to be this with this. Like, I look at his stuff and all of it's always like the right colors together, the right amount of contrast. Like, it's like looks dark, but it also looks bright and light. Like, this is a Ranks sketch. I tattooed Ranks in like 2022, and he's another guy's stuff that I look at. Like, this is obviously like graffiti sketches, but you can see like this is like, I call this like maximalism. You know, he's got flames everywhere, he can fit flames, he's got dots everywhere there isn't flames, and he's got blood drops everywhere there isn't either of the two. And then his design of his lettering in between it, which is just like his own kind of flair. You know, you can see heaps of graffiti that's kind of like this, but not the way that he does it. You know, like this is another one where it's like that same kind of like a lot going on, but also like not really, because there's like, you know, the background compared to that drawing we just saw is like a lot simpler, and it's still effective, you know. Here's a good example of like this would be like maximalism, and this is like simplicity, but at the same time it's like he's using his composition with the background, and he's using that to his advantage by doing all this black and leaving the negative in here, you know. Like he could have not have done the drips or blood or whatever you want to call it, and it would have still been cool, but it has so much more movement now. It's like the letters are like skimming across the wall because he's got that amount of, you know, negative space. And this is all composition, because you can draw drips and blood drops and lightning and waves or whatever, and if you draw it wrong it just looks fucked. But like he has this way of making it look just the right amount of stuff, and that's composition, you know. Like this is a maximalism version. If this is like minimal, then this is like the most. And even when he does that, he's got like a lot in there, but you can still kind of see everything he's trying to do. That's the thing that I feel like with tattooing and what I'm trying to do lately. It's like I want it to be like a lot going on, but it's all decipherable. You know, you can see each bit, understand what it's doing, and not just be like a mess. But it is like this craziness, kind of like you know, organized chaos, I guess you'd call it. This is a Philip Blue like skull panel. I just thought that was ill. Like that'd just be really cool to do like that, even like as black as it is. And this is Philip Blue as well, just considering all the body. I put photos of Slayer in here because sometimes I listen to Slayer and I'm like, they're kind of like, to me, just like innovative, you know. They're like almost like look like a bunch of punk dudes, but they're like it's like metal, you know. And like with metal and death metal and punk and stuff, it's like nowadays it's so decipherable, you know. Like there's like 20 different genres of like metal and 20 different genres of hardcore and punk and shit. And I think that Slayer were the first ones to kind of like mash together a few things and make it their own, and I love that. They love One Another back piece, the Jesus at the table, Last Supper. Just a cool design. It looks like Jesus down here giving peace on. But you know, that inspires me to do something like that. I think Painless is actually doing one of these across someone's chest. I think this is the last photo in the folder I've got here, but this is a Ed Hardy back piece, and this is probably something I'm going to try and take on soon, which is like to do 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think that's a geisha. I'm not too sure who he is exactly, but so like 3 geishas with the background and down over the butt and stuff. I look at that and I'm like, man, that's so, you know, that's kind of like, to me, organized chaos. You know, there's like so much going on, patterns in this little fan here, all this pattern and stuff in this like throne, I guess it would be, the pattern in the geisha's kimono, you know, the black, the clouds. Like there's a lot going on, but the composition makes it make sense. Like the solid black in here and in here allows for this stuff to be busy and still have your eye, keep your eye open on it and know what's going on, you know. I think one of the main things I was trying to get across is in making this video was like, when you're struggling for like inspiration to make art or to do better or push yourself with what you're making, you kind of need to look at like, I don't want to copy like what someone else is doing. I want to make my own shit, but it's hard to get motivated if you're just stuck in a rut of like, I'm gonna do the same style, like I'm still doing the same shit, like it's dying off. There's more people doing like the same shit I'm doing. Like I found that with the traditional tattoos I was doing when I was doing like hand size or palm size tattoos, there's like, you know, there could be 100 dudes in Australia that are doing the same kind of style of tattoo. And then it's like who like someone's going to go to doesn't really depend on like as much about like their notoriety or the clout or whatever anymore, because no one's really like succeeding that hard anymore, because it's like Instagram's made it so they're like this kind of like almost like this platform where it's like we own your like visibility, and we're only going to show people whoever's going to commit to like what we want to put out, which is like you got to post up all the time, you got to put up like the same kind of background, you want to be like tagging where you are, all this like hashtagging and like real like marketing style approach to like media that tattooing never used to have. And a lot of these guys in these photos, and why their shit's so cool, is because they were making this shit and they weren't putting in consider anyone else but their own creative ability making it, and then also they're just making their customer happy. Whereas now you're like doing a tattoo on a customer and people will be thinking more about what everyone else is going to think about it rather than thinking about what you think about it as the artist, and then also how happy your customer is to wear it. So I look at all this stuff and I'm like, alright, I just want to be stoked making like new things every day, being creative, and then also just want to make sure that my customer is like super happy with the amount of effort that I'm putting in. It's not just like they came in and picked a screenshot off someone else's Instagram and got a tattoo, because it's like, in my opinion, the lamest and also the least amount of effort in getting something that you're gonna have on you for the rest of your life, you know, like it's just not what I'm trying to push. But anyway, I've got one last thing I want to show, because I always consider like myself a bit erratic, and some people find it hard to understand when I'm talking about making things or being creative, but I always use like death metal as like an example, because I like to think that my ideas and stuff are pretty chaotic and everything, but they all can be heard and they can be deciphered, you know, like it's all there. And I like to think it's like this, it's like a death metal drummer, you know. Everything's there, on time, in place. To me, that's like a good example of like purposeful art. Every part that everything that he's hitting is there for a reason. There's a hit here because there's an open part here in the music. There's a hit here because there's a part where you can put a high pitched sound. It's the same with making art. Like you can pick like parts of the design and be like, all right, this needs to be all fucking crazy over here. We need as much going on as we can. And then this is like the break. This is the open bit. Let's fill this in just black. You know, oh, we've got time to get crazy down here. Let's color this bit in black. It's just, to me, it's the same kind of idea with composition and thinking about what it is that you're trying to push forward, or the energy that you're like trying to get across. If you want to make something really simple, you have to look at it and think, all right, well, if it's simple, it has to be like how do I explain it? If it's going to be simple, it has to be like a simple idea too, almost, you know, like. Yeah, basically just what I was trying to say is like, sometimes I'm lacking for motivation to make stuff or to be creative, and I'm looking for something to drive me forward. And these are some photos that I'd look at. It's just a little example of things and people that I've either met or seen their art or interacted with them. Or a lot of the old tattoo photos, obviously I just look at them and think, you know, how did that all get done? Like this photo obviously got made because the guy that was tattooing these guys was you know, he wanted to see them all get together and show this image of how powerful it is to create art and have it on these guys' bodies and them wearing it around for the rest of their life, you know. Anyway, that's the whack. That's the end of the video.